is up, guys? Welcome to the Think Computers Weekly Tech Podcast. This is episode 451, and this week's podcast is brought to you by Amazon, or not Amazon. Wow,
no,
I'm so used to saying Amazon that it's actually brought to you by MSI. If you go to MSI.com, that's going to bring you to your local MSI. And I know we all know MSI for graphics cards and motherboards, but I have to say, they make really good cases that are like completely overlooked all of the time. So if you go to their website, check out some of their cases. They actually, like I said, they make really good cases, and they're like highly affordable too. Some of the ones that were reviewed are like a couple, like not even a couple $100, like especially like the Mag series cases are very, very affordable. The Pano 100R, very affordable. All of these cases. So definitely check all of that out. But we definitely thank MSI for the support, of course, of the podcast. And if you haven't noticed, we have somebody new on the panel.
What?
We have Krootman Tech in the house. We have all of his socials linked in our show notes and on this video if you want to give him a follow. But we've been talking online for a while and decided to have him on. He's mainly known for mining, at least initially, but he's doing a lot of cool stuff. He has some pretty interesting videos on his YouTube channel. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I wish I could say mining is worth it, but GPU mining is dead. All of you gamers can rejoice. Anybody who says it's not dead has really cheap power. Otherwise, GPU mining will never be a problem again. You guys just got to worry about the AI bubble coming up.
I did GPU mining back when I used to live in Pennsylvania, and the power was cheap, and that's when you could make money. And I wasn't buying GPUs either. Obviously, I was getting them to review. So I did mining for a little bit, but not
too great. You didn't have a ton of.
No, I had like 4 GPUs, right? Like it wasn't anything. If you
depending how early on that was, like 4 GPUs could have been making bank,
money,
right?
Yeah, true. But that's why I want to ask Krootman, because when I met, well, we actually have never met in real life, but when I started talking to you online, you only had a mining channel. So was that how you first got into tech? Was mining, or were you always into computers and tech? Or
so like, fast forward to 2020 and pandemic, blah blah blah. I was like, I want to get into gaming again, PC gaming, and I had a 970 on a 1440p monitor, and I thought I was playing 1080p, so I knew nothing, right? Playing whatever my friends play, whatever. And then I hit a launch day 3090 Founders, like one of 7 people to do it, and I don't know how that happened, but then that kind of like galvanized me into PC building and all that, and I kind of like I learned, like you learn it again, you kind of dip your toes, and then I was like, I really like graphics cards and I like PCs, but I only need one. I was like, wait a minute. Mining lets me build computers that make money, so I can build more computers. So I was like, I told my wife, I'm like, what if I could build a computer that made us money?
There you go.
And then here we are.
That's a good excuse. That's a good excuse for the wife, for sure.
Yeah. And then I ended up with a shed with about 200 graphics cards, and the rest is history.
Okay, that's very cool. Like I said, I was never that into mining. What like how much were you so like with the cost of where are you at? You're in PA?
So I'm at PA. So I had at the time I had like 16 cents back in 2000 2021 I started mining like January, and that was free money at that point.
Yeah, so like how much say so at your max output with all those graphics cards and all those systems running, like what was your monthly, like how much were you making per month?
There was a time, I'm not going to say how long, but I was making $500 a day.
That's
profit.
Good.
Nice.
Profit. Now, obviously there's so many factors on that. Like, don't let that, I tell everybody.
Yeah.
Like
there's cost of you have to factor like are you factoring the cost of the graphics cards? Are you factoring in obviously you have your power cost and your heating, cooling, like there's a lot of it.
So it's funny. Starting in mining really helps because, like, have you ever had a conversation with someone who's like, they're like, efficiency really matters, and you're like, why does it matter? I ask them, I'm like, why does it matter? Where do you live? And they're like, I'm going to save money if I overpay for this graphics card. And then I'm like, well, I can tell you exactly how much your card is going to cost you per day to run. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
It's a mining thing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. A lot of people don't think about that. Like I said, when I got into mine, I was like trying to figure out if I could actually make money, and they had all the calculators online, how you could calculate everything and how much you were paying. And I had to look. I didn't even know how much I was even paying per kilowatt hour when I was first getting into it. So you had to figure all of that out. You had to do all of that. But that's a really cool way to get back into PCs. It's definitely an interesting way, because a lot of people I know during the pandemic, a lot of my friends who weren't necessarily like PC people, they wanted to build their own PC, because a lot of them also got like a stipend from their job. Like, oh, here, go buy a laptop or whatever. And it was like a couple grand. So they're like, oh, I want to build a gaming PC. And that's how they kind of got back into PC gaming or building their own PC. But mining is definitely a cool way to go.
And I mind, and it's funny because I shut down like January of this year. So I went from 2022 till December of 2024.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty good run.
What does your wife think of like shutting the whole thing down?
I mean, she's happy about it.
Yeah, that's what I figured. She's like, oh, we could actually use the shed again.
Well, no. The shed's going to become my YouTube studio. The idea of the shed was to transition. But no, I mean, like I was paying for power. I wasn't paying for power out of pocket. Like, I didn't believe that much. So like where people were like I would only be making a little bit per month in terms of like profit, because profitability was low. I was just yielding a bunch of coins. So like, even though now half of them are worth nothing, it was just profit that I foregoed. I didn't like lose money.
Yeah. See, like I kind of lucked out because I mined way back, and then I just kept, I never like cashed any of it out, and now it's worth a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. If you started in like 2017, you were like,
I mean, it might have been before. I don't remember. It was a while ago. It was a long time ago.
Nice.
But yeah, that's actually very cool to get back into PCs and things like that. Now, you had your mining channel, which if you're into mining probably has a ton of great content.
Yeah.
Now, you told me about when you were gonna make was it right after CES you made the switch?
So what I did was, all right, so like, you know how we all start our YouTube channel, we all start whatever. We think that like people tell you how it needs to be, and you're kind of like, you don't blow them off, but you're like, I'm gonna try something different, right?
Yeah.
And you only like, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do crypto content and gaming content on the same channel, and it's totally not gonna blow up in my face, right? Yeah. So, gamers and miners gamers despise miners, right? And miners just buy all gamers GPUs, right? Like whatever. And so I would get like 50 or 60 subs from a gaming video, and then I'd lose mining subs. And, it was like, you're doing two things that were pushing against each other.
And I also feel that like brands aren't as supportive. Well, like
no,
they're not supportive of mining content because it kind of undercuts what their demographic. That's not really their demographic.
It's funny because I got some meetings because people were asking me for mining advice. Like some of the people who were working at brands, who I'm not going to name, right, were like, hey, can you help us? I'm like, yeah, no problem. Like I gave them advice, and they're like, look, personally, they were like, that's great, but we can't work with you. Your channel's tainted. But they're like, if you split, we'll work with you. And I'm like, well, okay. So I was kind of like, I needed to get following so I could get in CES, right? Because you can't get in if you don't get views. And then I can't split yet because I'm too small. So I made the jump after CES where like sponsors like, okay, we'll start working with you.
Yeah.
That's smart.
So like,
and it allows you to do two different things. Like I do a lot of different things besides just ThinkComputers, and you can't just do it all under one umbrella, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is recipe for failure.
Well, and also the thing about crypto is like I turned down, I'm going to be honest with you, I turned down probably 15,000 plus in ad revenue from coins because I will never promote products. Like I don't want to be. Like,
there's a lot. Well, one, there's like a lot of shadiness in crypto space, and two, there's a lot of like people don't trust people who are like shilling coins or stuff like that. Yeah.
Did you see Squid Game? Did you guys see Squid Game?
I never watched it.
I didn't watch it. No.
Yeah.
There's one character who like made a ton of people lost their money in like a scheme that he pushed. Like That was always my biggest fear, was ending up like that. So I I would only represent hardware, and like it's really hard because like a lot of the times you get this hardware to review, right? And it's profitable. But by the time, like if one person has it, they're making like just say $10, right? Then 10 people get it and they're making $1. So if you review it and you're like, hey, I'm making $10, then these guys buy it and they're like, dude, I'm only making $1. So it was a very fine line you had to walk, because I never wanted to lie to people. Whereas like with tech, I can tell you that I think the 2080 Ti is an amazing graphics card, and you either disagree with me or not, but you're not going to lose
money. Well, when it comes to when people are buying things to make money and then they don't end up making the money that you say they're going to make or whatever, they're going to be upset. Whereas like I can say this product's good and you can disagree with me, but I can tell you the reasons I think it's good. And it's completely objective, right? It's completely like, that's my opinion. I you know,
well,
and I've had people that
control a market.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I've had people disagree with me a lot on certain products, and I'm just like, this is why I like it. That's my opinion, you know? But yeah, so like you've done a lot of GPU content. So, and a lot of like not brand new GPU content, which I think a lot of people don't do. All of us are typically reviewing like the latest GPUs and stuff like that. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think is like the best bang for your buck GPU that you can get, whether it's new, whether it's old, like what's kind of the sweet spot for you?
I'm going to disappoint everybody. I want to apologize for what I'm about to say, but I truly believe in my heart that I am correct, and I am so sorry. The best value GPU to buy right now is the 5070.
Okay. I have one.
New or used, and it's very depressing.
The 5070 16 gig?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's the 5060 Ti. The 5070 is...
Oh, yeah, 5070. Yeah, you're right. Sorry. Yeah.
Why do you think you're going to disappoint people by saying that card?
So
everybody hates the 50 series.
So
no, not everybody.
Well, not one everybody, of the things I dislike about tech media, and I got not attacked isn't the right word, but I got pushback from like Hardware Unboxed, especially gave me pushback. Now it's their opinion, and I respect them, and it wasn't like a beef or anything, but they like dove into me. I think a lot of the tech media is kind of out of touch with reality, right? And like, when you reviewed the 5070, I mean, I'm pretty sure you were basically like, this is boring. This is like a 4070 Ti super duper.
Yeah, because it sat in between what did it sit in between? It sat in between the 4070 and 4070 Ti.
Super and Ti. And Ti.
And that's the biggest thing. And as I always talk about it, we talk about all of the DLSS and all of that stuff, but so many people just want raw performance numbers. And when you're not getting this massive incremental jump and a 70 class card performs the same or around the same or in that same thing, it's not performing the same as the previous generation's 80 class card, then people are upset. And I think that's where a lot of people, you try to be as objective as you can, right? And based on price and all those other factors that come in. You know what I mean?
So the worst part about this whole thing, right? So if you look at I'm sure you've tested them, you both have, the 4070 Super and the 5070. They more or less trade blows depending on the game, depending on certain things, right? Go look at what a 4070 Super costs used right now, right? If you go to average sold on eBay seller tools, I think it comes out to, I have it right here.
This guy brought his notes.
Yeah.
So if you look at it right now, a 4070 Super costs $744 on the used market.
Yeah.
And like, and I do the numbers sold, and from the last month, like 500 of them have sold.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem too, is like there's not enough availability, so the used market is horrible.
Well, yeah, but what I'm trying to say is, if you live in America right now, you can go look at a website. I bet you both of you could find a brand new 5070 new for $600. If you both looked right now and you spent 5 minutes, you both could find it.
Let's see, RTX 57.
So if you could find that, why are you going on eBay and paying?
Yeah, I'm at 629 for a PNY.
$549.
Okay, the point is, it's over $100 less than a 4070 Super.
Yeah. And you're getting DLSS 4.
You forget about that. You're getting a 2-year warranty.
Yeah, on top of and that's
like,
that's kind of the big. I don't even think about warranty, but yeah, that's
so okay. So one of the things I don't care about is warranty, right? I have a GPU repair bench here. If I drop a GPU, there's a decent chance I can repair it, but most people aren't like that. So what it blows my mind is you have people to this day buying the 4070 Super because the 5070 has such a bad reputation PR wise, whereas it's clearly the better buy right now.
Yeah, $579 that same PNY, $599 for the Asus.
Okay,
you don't have to worry about a history on that card either, right? The history is it came from the factory, put in the box, and now it's mine. You don't have to worry about.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about like if somebody mined on it, right? If somebody did whatever with it, you're getting it and you're getting the warranty. I think that kind of
so forget about like the mining, forget about any of that, right? Because like that's not the whole picture. It's just like you're paying $144 or $100 to not get a warranty for a worse product just because of the reputation that a lot of the big tech bloggers gave the 5070.
I don't understand people like that.
I hate the 50. So my review literally says I hate the 5070, but you should buy it.
Yeah, I think too. Like when you're talking about somebody who's upgrading, right, and they built a PC 5 years ago, it's upgrade time, and they're like, okay, here are the options that I have that I can buy at or at least close to MSRP. Why would you point them to a used card if they're going to build a new system anyways? You know what I mean?
So traditionally, and this has been in the last like 5 years, I've really tracked the used market, especially as a miner, where I would like sell groups of cards and upgrade or do whatever. So I was always had an eye on the used market, right? This market does not make sense. Like in the terms of traditional economics, the used market only costs more when you cannot buy products new. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Look at you both just found brand new 5070s within $50 of its MSRP, right? And if you go on eBay and you search a used 4070 Super, they're going for $700 plus right now, and people are buying them. So like, explain that to me from a supply side economic standpoint.
You think that most of that is just the reputation that Tech Media gave to the 50 series? Like you base it most on that? Because to me, like, logically that doesn't make sense. Like if you know there's a brand new card that's better and like is priced better, why? Like just because someone's told you that it's not a great card?
I think too,
that's wild to me. I can't imagine spending money like that.
I think a lot of people are trying to unload the cards and just get as much as they can for them too.
So I have a hard time thinking that we're still at that point because I had two big 40 series crypto mining rigs, right? And I was like, okay, I'm going to lose money on these. Like, there's no way I make money. I was telling people right before the 50 series was announced, you know how like when we were getting ready for CES, right? And we were like talking about all the pre-CES stuff. I was making videos saying, go buy your 4090s right now. They're like $1,400. Once the 5090 gets released, they're going up to $2,000. I literally have videos of me screaming at people to do it. And on the flip side, don't sell your 4090s. Wait, because they're going to go up, right? So I was like, I'm going to lose so much money on my 40 series. Doesn't matter. Then like 2 months later, and I made $200 per 5070 profit after mining on them for over a year.
Wow. And
I stood there going, what is going on? Like I was basically telling the crypto mining market was collapsing and GPUs were going to bull run values. So I made this big video where I was like, everybody needs to sell now because gamers are bailing us out in some screwed up reality. Yeah. Like gamers
that was the worst thing when you thought about getting out of crypto mining was like, okay, I got to offload these cards. Who's going to want these cards? How hard is it going to be to sell these cards?
I made a very good profit off all of the GPUs I bought right after the crash, selling them all throughout last holiday. And I was like, I cannot believe gamers are overpaying for these cards when there's nothing propping this up.
Yeah, that's wild.
Like if you think about it, like the whole market was a sham. Like there was really no supply shortage. It was an artificial one.
Yeah.
I mean, there was with the 5090, but look at everything else. It was all like the used market was all artificial.
That's just quite interesting. I never thought about it like that.
Sorry, I don't mean to go on a ramble. It's
no,
just,
it's all right.
No, it's
No,
good. It's different insight than we typically cover, you know?
Yeah, no, that's really, really interesting. So if you want to buy a new graphics card, best bang for your buck currently is 5070.
And this is you're gonna hate me even more. I'm still in the process of testing it. The video's not done. I think the 6800, the 9060 XT is the best value new card at right now at under $500.
Yeah, it's a great card. I really enjoyed reviewing that card, and it is a really good card. It's good to see AMD just kind of focus on specific price points, and but we'll talk about maybe that hasn't worked. We'll get it once we get into the news. But yeah, that's a really, really great card. I want to know, since you're like kind of newer into reviewing products, is there any certain brands you like really, really like their products and like really like working with them, or like any brands that have really like impressed you with their products since you started doing reviews and things like that?
So at first I'm just going to be totally transparent, right? At first I was really just wanting to review products that I wanted, but then I kind of realized that I'm not big enough to do that. So I kind of went to brands and I was like, what do you want to showcase? I will give a fair account of anything, right?
Yeah.
And I've actually kind of really haven't hated any product I've reviewed. I hate to say that, but like everything I've reviewed, like it's all been pretty solid.
That's what I mean. I've been doing this a very long time. It's few and far between you get a really bad product and you're like, how did this get past R&D? Because again, all these big brands, they have R&D and things go through process before they come out. We can always like disagree on price or certain things, but typically most products are pretty good.
Yeah.
I think that's helped a lot with like, you didn't have as much social media online presence, right? So companies could get away with selling product, and like a consumer on one side of the country that had a bad experience, like someone a couple states over probably wouldn't ever hear about it because there was no commonality, right? Outside of like niche forums and things like that. But as the internet grew and everybody's on there and talking, like I think your ability to sell a crappy product and get away with it has dwindled to almost nothing.
And there's just so much more accountability. I mean, if you look at like Gamers Nexus and all the they're like you know, all the reporting that they've been doing over the past few years, and they're following along with social media, like brands getting called out for certain things. It's such a good thing for just like the PC hardware community, not just, you know, and it makes the brands just really like they can't do those like shady tactics they might have done 10 years ago, you know.
So one thing I will say that I've been talking to a few people and I kind of feel this way. While like when a brand does something that's like bad, right? Like I didn't like the way NVIDIA handled the review samples. I wasn't involved in any of those because I'm not big enough to review GPUs yet, unfortunately. But I think one of the things I don't like is I think a lot of people are calling out individual people who are just doing their jobs. Right. Yeah. And I'm not like, let's go to, if you don't mind spending like a quick second on it, the tweet from Frank, right? The 8 GB thing. I didn't think he was wrong for what he said. Now there's plenty of degrees of whether you agree or not, but I think all the flack he got was unnecessary because he was just telling us AMD's insight, and it's not like he was doing anything wrong.
Well, that's the thing too, is that us as gamers, we all want a certain thing. And when we don't get it, we're upset, right? But then when you're a big brand or you're any brand, you have, especially the bigger brands, you have shareholders, you have everything, and you need to make certain products that meet a certain sales volume. And there's like so many things that go into it. And PC gamers are just not happy people. And you can't please everybody. And you can obviously push back, but some things you just have to realize, like it's just you know, this is a company, this is the products that they're coming out with. Now, if it's something that's like really insane, you're just like, why would you even come out with this product? But that typically doesn't happen. Like I said, there's things that you're going to get pushback on, but it's not, I don't know.
So here, I have a question for both of you, right? if you're a PC gamer, you have two options, right? You can skip this generation because you don't agree with NVIDIA and AMD's choices, or you buy it. If you bought, okay, so say, what would you guys agree right now is the most offensive GPU to you from either company this generation?
I mean, in my opinion, it's just the 8 gig cards. Like they're just not, and I've always been this, and we said this last week on the podcast, and I've said it every time. I don't think graphics cards with different VRAM sizes should be named the same. That's my opinion.
100% agree.
Yeah. And I just, so many people who are consumers are new PC consumers and they have no clue, right? They don't. And so it's very confusing to the new PC builder. And that's where I think they should be named different things. Even if it says it on the box, it's still, in my opinion, they should be called something else, whatever it is. If it's a 9600 XT, there should be like a 90. What did you say last week, Ryan? Like a 90, a 9650 like or whatever it is,
or something, right?
Like, yeah, or like any of that. It should just be called something else.
So okay, so my question is, if you are very angry at these companies, we'll use whatever word you want, right? But you buy a GPU from this generation, do you have a right to complain? Because you're basically just enabling them.
I mean, everybody has a right to complain.
Sure.
You can complain, but you're
not going to facilitate any change, though.
True.
Not in a monetary way.
Yeah, you're not. And the thing is that even if you did, these companies, especially NVIDIA, I mean, I don't know how long. I mean, NVIDIA is not making a whole lot of money off of gamers. You know what I mean?
Not anymore.
So, yeah, not anymore. I think it's good to complain. It's good to make your voice heard. If you need to buy a GPU, if you're still mad at both brands, but like you're like, okay, I need to build a new system, I have to pick a card. You're going to have to pick one. I mean, I really don't think you're going to go the Intel route. Most people aren't. So you kind of have a choice between the two, and just whatever one you think is better for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and that's the thing though. Like I've noticed so many gamers who are complaining, right? Who are like loud and angry, and then showing off their brand new 5080.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not. If I was ever super mad at a brand or at one like at AMD or an NVIDIA, I mean those are the choices that we have, right?
And I think some people get in that mindset of like, it's similar to cell phones. Like I got the latest iPhone, but there's another one coming out, so I have to buy it because it's new, right? Like I'm a person, I work, I write stuff for, you're one of those guys. I write articles for Bob, right? But I just upgraded to a 5080 from a 2070 Super. So I can sit here and tell you that like I can play games all the time, and like I don't have to, run a higher frame rate or resolution. Like you can still have fun playing games. Yeah, like
that MSI is like
3090, 5090 in there. I'm the biggest simp there is.
Yeah,
this is proof that I'm a simp for NVIDIA.
Well, I mean, like I said, I think you can be upset at the brands, and like you can criticize what they do, but you're gonna have to use their products. And it's just the way it is.
Just short of a monopoly.
And again, we've seen. I mean, the brands that could come into the market and disrupt the market, like an Intel that have the money and the resources, it's not an easy thing.
No.
I mean, we've seen, and who knows how long Intel will make graphics cards for. It's still very much up in the air. And even they did put out a semi-good product, in their ARC cards, but they don't have like the brand following. They don't have the confidence of everybody to go out and pick that over an AMD or an NVIDIA card. They don't. So you're limited to what you can buy, and you can be upset at the brand, but you have to use the products.
And it's funny because like you see a lot of people criticize AMD, a lot of people criticize NVIDIA, and I disagree with personal attacks on people who are working for the companies, but that's just me. And I also admit that, at least I do, there's an inherent bias because I am also trying to work with these brands, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it always is. And when you're somebody like us who's in PR or media and you criticize a brand, that means you may not get sampled next time. And I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen over the years before social media and YouTube. It's happened time and time again. So you do walk a thin line, but it's still, I mean, you can still call out the brands. I mean, you know, and I think that I think brands now are more like inclined to listen because of social media, right? You know, you don't see as many media getting, I guess, blackballed from reviews unless they do something crazy.
You can only blackball Linus or Jay or Gamers Nexus so much until that backfires on you because
really
their audience is so
Well,
large,
you
right?
can't though, because like how many times have we all had conversations that are off the record that we can't talk about here, where brands are legitimately afraid of certain channels?
Yeah, I mean, it happens. It happens all the time. Like I said, for what we do, I don't necessarily worry about it.
No,
I don't think it's for me at least, you know. And I think the biggest thing is that, you know, if there is an issue, you voice it to the brand and they can listen to you. They don't have to, but most of them do appreciate your feedback. If I have a product and I can tell you there's an issue, I can tell the brand, they're really appreciative of us talking to them and being like, hey, did you look into this? Like, how is this? Why is this like this? Or why did you design this like this? Or am I missing something in this? You know,
for me, the only brand, like, I'll give you something opposite. Like, the only brand that I would remotely want to call out, and I don't work with them, I would like to, but I don't like the way ASRock handled their AM5 motherboards, killing the 9800.
Yeah, I followed that a little bit. I mean, obviously with the boards that I've had, I haven't had any issues. But yeah, I mean, I think with a lot of these brands too, it's how they handle the issue and the controversy. Whereas like we've seen some brands just completely ignore it and think it's one thing. I mean, we saw it with NVIDIA with the power connector for like a year. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then the next time it happened, it was more quick. They were more quick to do it. And I think with ASRock, it's kind of the same thing. This is kind of like the first time they really had a big thing. We saw it with NZXT as well. What happened with NZXT? So, you know, and now brands are so quick to be like, okay, we're going to fix it. We're going to do this. Yeah. So I think it's kind of like a learning curve for a lot of the brands. Not making excuses for the brands, but I think, you know, we're kind of in this new age where it gets posted on Reddit and it blows up, or a YouTuber talks about it and it blows up. So I think that brands just have to kind of get used to being like, okay, we have to really look into this. It's not just an isolated issue or something like that.
No, I mean, it's good that brands have to get better. Like you see it from what I've heard about reviewing certain things, my first few review embargoes were like, all the brands were super helpful. They were like, this is what you have. Here are the resources you need. Here's what, like it's all super helpful. I'm sure you've seen it too. Now, obviously, you know, maybe you could talk more about the 5060 and the 5060 Ti reviews than I could, because I didn't participate. But other than that, I haven't really heard of companies reviewing, like, not playing by the rules, I guess, as far as reviewing stuff goes.
Yeah, and the 5060 and 5060 Ti thing, that like what he's alluding to is like they only sent samples of the 16 gig card. That was an NVIDIA decision. That wasn't a AIB decision. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of how they wanted to portray it, just like 9060, kind of same thing. So,
at risk of like pissing people off, and I'm not trying to, just for the sake of the conversation, I always feel like when AMD gives us slides, they're more transparent about what's going on. Like they're like, this is what we're testing against.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, NVIDIA does. At least if you go to the bottom of the deck, it usually tells you the settings. Or like the systems, if you go all the way to the bottom of the deck. But in any case, yeah, I mean, it is good. Like I said, like Ryan said, I think it's really good that all of this stuff is out in the open, because it allows brands to be better, and it allows it just allows for more transparency when it comes to those decisions that are kind of controversial to be discussed. Whereas like years ago, it just never was, and there was no there was no pushback. So it's good that there is now, right? And
Yeah.
it allows, and at the end of the day, it makes for a better product or a better customer service experience for the customer. And I think for what we do, that's a good thing, because we're trying to advise the customer on saying, is this good? Is this not good? And when the products are better, it's always good. We always say, even when Intel jumped in as the third man for GPUs, I always say, at the end of the day, it's just good, because it's just more competition, right? Competition breeds better products. And I think that's kind of what also, like, controversies and drama and all that, it breeds better companies being better and better products at the end of the day, which is, again, good for the gamer, good for the consumer, I think.
The 5090 is why the 5090 being the way it is because AMD didn't give us a rival for it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We'll talk about that as we get into the news, because we have a story that's kind of related to that. But I did want to talk about the 5090. What's in your current system now? What does your current system look like?
9950X 3D, RTX 5090, 64 gigs of DDR5 RAM.
That's what motherboard?
A Gigabyte Aorus Master.
Nice. That's
That's
better than my build. What the hell? What am I doing over here?
So it's all reviewed. So it's funny because this whole PC was sponsored minus a GPU. Like, I can't get a GPU, so
yeah.
I paid for the GPU and I paid for the drives. Right.
What were you running before that?
A 9800X 3D and a 4090.
Okay, so you've been AMD for a while, because I always wonder if people were Intel and then switched to AMD, or you were AMD for a while.
So the way I got into AMD, quick 2-second story, is I learned how to resolder AMD CPUs because I saw a Linus video and I'm like, let's do this. Why not?
I destroyed a CPU. I was pulling off a CPU cooler, and of course, before AM5, it had the pins, and I pulled it out. The CPU was still stuck to the cooler, no issue. But then I tried to pull it off, right? I tried to pull it off, and it just slipped, and it went flying. And I pick it back up, and just the pins are all bent, and I was just like,
So here, I'll show you. Hold on 1 second. I'll give you a funny one. I have them all right here. All right, so. Hold on, I'm yelling in the background, but here. So you can see, this is my donor CPU that I take pins off. That you can see what's left of it.
Yeah,
it's a transplant. Wow.
So this one was this is like a 3100. What happened was I repaired it, and then I thought it was a donor CPU, and I started pulling pins off.
No.
And then I realized that it was a working one.
Yeah.
And
I'm so glad that AMD made that change. And it was just so much better.
The only person on the planet that is upset about it, because I would buy bent or broken pin CPUs and repair them.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was running a 10850K when my COVID system, and someone sold me a broken pin 5950X for $50.
That's what I'm running a 5950X right now.
And I resoldered it back together and used it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was not going to try to do that. I even looked it up. I was like, maybe I could do it, because I was like, I don't have to.
If you won't do a hard tube liquid cooled building, there's no way you're soldering pins on a CPU.
I thought about it, and then I researched it, and I was like, no, I'm good. I'll just buy a new one.
It's literally like, it's so Jekyll and Hyde. Like I said, I resoldered 41 pins on a CPU once, and then I broke a CPU that required one soldered on. Like, I ripped it, the pad came up, and I'm like, well, that's it for that one.
Yeah.
So
yeah, interesting days when you're doing that. But let's jump into our reviews this week, into news. I talked about it last week. I'll go really quickly through my review of this, because it's a very simple product. If you guys don't know, I love fast portable storage. It's one of my favorite things. And Crucial sent over their X10. And if you're like, I've heard of the X10 before, it's because they've already had the X10 Pro, which is this one, out for a while. And this is like my go-to. Now they just have a normal X10. And the interesting thing is that they're both the same speed. They're both USB 3.2 Gen 2x2 drives. the exact same size essentially too. Like they're both very much the same size. The only real difference is that the Pro has aluminum, and this is a plastic. It's not like a cheap plastic though. It's pretty, it's heavy. It's not bad. And then this one has a little LED. This one does not. But the cool thing about the new X10 is that the X10 you can get an 8 terabyte, whereas the X10 Pro is only 4 terabyte. That's the big difference. It's a super fast drive.
Does it have the keychain hole like the?
Yeah, it's more built in. So this one.
Okay.
Because you can see the hole right there.
Yeah.
The LED is in there, whereas this one, it might be hard to see. This one, it's like
okay, I got
more
just
built into the drive, but there's
Yep.
no LED in there. That's essentially it. But this is the new one. Like I said, it's a great little drive, super fast, performs right up to specification. The 2 terabyte, which I reviewed, is $162.99. It's about a $10 difference between the two. So if you did want the metal one, it's like $10 more. But yeah, available up to 8 terabytes. So that's an awesome portable drive for editing, for games. You can connect these to your consoles really easily as well. So yeah, that's kind of the main differences between the drives. And yeah, just a great portable assist.
If you were going to put that on your keychain and actually use it like just a remote drive, do you think the steel one would be a lot better? You'd be a lot better off with the steel one.
Well, this is actually one of the smaller portable SSDs, but I'm not putting this on a keychain. I mean, yeah. I know they have the hole there, but I wouldn't put it on a keychain.
But would you like throw it in your pocket? Because like I know a lot of people take drives.
No, I would throw either. The thing about portable SSDs that people don't realize is like any of these you can just throw in your. It doesn't matter because there's no moving parts, and the only thing you really have to worry about is the connector. Something gets in the connector. Now both of these are both dust and water resistant. They're both IP65 rated, so you really don't have to worry about anything. Like I actually thrown this new one in my pocket. Like when I was going somewhere, I just put it in my pocket. I don't ever worry about portable SSDs getting damaged at all, unless they're like really. And I haven't really reviewed one that's like really badly made with cheap plastic or something. Yeah, but I wouldn't put them on a keychain. I would just like throw them in a laptop bag or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, that is our single review for the week. And then for Case Mod Friday, this build is like.
I'm glad that he had like the picture of him with it because I was like, how big is this? And there was like, well, you'll see.
Yeah, so this is called Skull Crusher, which is a gun in Doom Dark Ages, and somebody made this replica. And you may think, like, I saw the picture too, and I was like, oh, it's like the size of like a gun that you would like hold in your hand, right? But then you're like, you look at it, and then he finally had a picture, like this is how big it is. Like it's quite large.
Holy wow.
Yeah,
that does not properly convey the size of that.
No.
Yeah, not at all. The pictures don't.
And you start thinking about it, and you're like, okay, up above like the grip, there's two looks like 120 millimeter fans, and then probably like a life size skull there, and
too, so you get a better and like the craftsmanship is amazing. But I don't know if you guys. There's no. I don't think do I have the video? Yeah. So the video. So these pistons move.
They move in and out,
yeah, in the video. So we have the video in the article if you want to check it out. But this is just an awesome, and it's water cooled too, so which is really crazy. So but yeah, it's really,
I love like all the gears and super attention to detail on this.
Do you ever wonder? So you probably saw all the PC builds from Computex. Do you ever wonder if someone like puts one of these on their desk and just uses them as like?
I know some people do, but like the ones that are kind of like insanely big, they're never. I don't know what even happens to the builds because like they're built for the brand. The brand has them. They must just like put them somewhere or take them to events. I assume they just take them to events.
And then they're obsolete because they're trying to show off their next new product, and you're like, well, we can't just put the new GPU in this old build because everybody's seen the old build, and they just go to some graveyard in the sky like the Neon Museum in Vegas, right?
Yeah, or something.
That'd be funny.
Yeah, but yeah, this one is absolutely amazing. So definitely check out the video. It is in the article. Now we'll move on to news. And I was alluding to, we all I don't know. I say I was a little skeptical of AMD not competing at the high end, but then when they did put out the 9070 or 9070 XT, I was very happy, especially when it came to availability and performance and everything, right? But new data shows that NVIDIA has gained market share with AMD and Intel declining. So the AIB GPU market share in Q1 2025 shows that NVIDIA went from 84% to 92% market share. So, and AMD went from 15% to 8%. Do you think that was just people maybe upgrading?
All right, so I think the issue, right, is that if you could get the 9070 XT at $600, AMD would win this generation hands down. Can't compete, doesn't matter. NVIDIA can't come close to that value. They win, right? But these things cost what, like $850-ish, give or take? And you can get a 9070 Ti for basically the same, right? Like $900 you can get them for right now, give or take, right?
For what card?
Not the 9070 XT.
Okay.
You get it for like $900, give or take, right now. So why would you do the traditional AMD or NVIDIA minus 50 for a card that is a generation worse when it comes to ray tracing?
Yeah.
And if you look at games like Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Dune with the path tracing update, ray tracing is the future, whether you like it or not.
Oh yeah, we talked about that with the 90. I mean, with the 9000 series is a huge upgrade from the 7000 series in terms of ray tracing.
It is.
Yeah.
But like, if the best AMD has is the equivalent of a 4070 Super in terms of ray tracing, and you're competing against a 5080, which are overclocks into a 4090, you were the one that told me that.
Yeah.
Then you're just not going to win.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too is that there's still more choice on the there's more
price points.
There's more price points, which I always complain about there being more price points, but there is more price points on the NVIDIA side as well. You know what I mean? So interesting to see this. We'll see what Q2, with more AMD cards in the market. We have the 9060 XT now, so maybe this changes a little bit. So we'll do an update in the next quarter, and we'll see if that changes. Also talking about NVIDIA, we know NVIDIA, they make a bunch of things, but we mainly know them for GPUs. But they have a CPU that's going to be in some laptops coming out. It's called their NX1, which is an ARM-based chip. And some early benchmarks have come out, and it's kind of competitive. If you look at it, here it is up top. And, it's not like necessarily like, it's not beating like a Ryzen AI Max 395 or a Kr00tman 285HX, but it's like within range, I
mean, it makes it a viable option.
Yeah, it makes it a viable option. Now it is ARM based, so I've tested some Qualcomm based.
Yeah, you have that laptop.
So you're not gonna. This is just like kind of the start, but I think for NVIDIA, it is kind of interesting, right?
Would you buy like some kind of NVIDIA Nook style PC where they had like some kind of mobile processor paired with their CPU? And I don't even know what it would look like, but some hyper power efficient all NVIDIA ecosystem.
Well, the thing is like we've seen it with Apple. Like when you own it down to the silicon, like you have more control and you can optimize the best, right? And you can make that GPU and CPU work together a lot better than it being like an Intel part or an AMD part with an NVIDIA GPU, right? So
I don't think it's making it in anybody's system as their like main rig, but as a side machine or like the machine you need for your parents so they can do their bills and watch YouTube online. Absolutely.
Well, the thing is too is like this is just a start, right? This is this is just something that again, this is kind of like their first foray into it. So it could be something where we talked about the same thing what happened with Apple. I mean, we said like, oh yeah, the M1's great. Now we're on the M4 and it's like it's a really good processor. So, we saw that go over, like a 3-5 year period. So this is something new from NVIDIA, and maybe in, in 5 years, they could push out AMD, because AMD has a small little chunk of that mobile GPU space, or mobile CPU space in laptops. I mean, they could push out
especially if they can get some big efficiencies with
it's funny, right? Because like, how many people do you see buy an AMD or an NVIDIA GPU and say, I don't want AMD, I hate AMD, Team Green for life, and then they pair it with an AMD CPU?
Well, yeah.
So like basically, if you're NVIDIA, right? Sure, you're strangling AMD on the GPU side, but arguably AMD controls the CPU side now. They're literally NVIDIA of CPUs.
Yeah. Well, like I said, this is maybe they started with a mobile and they could move into desktop. I mean, again, if a company is large enough to do it, it's NVIDIA, right?
Well, you want more like you theoretically, right? You'd want three CPU companies, 3 GPU companies. So like, as much as whether you hate NVIDIA's dominance or whatnot, you want them to break into this.
Well, yeah, and like I said, it all comes down to what are the efficiencies going to be with those two working together. They have full control. I mean, like, again, there's like a roadmap for this, and it's Apple. I mean, they did it, right? And you saw, like, if you got like the last Intel based Mac, and then like just the M1 was like, the performance was like insane over it. You know what I mean? So
could you imagine NVIDIA having like green usernames on Steam to show that you have an all NVIDIA system? Yeah. And if you had like AMD, you were a red bubble.
Yeah, that's funny.
As an Android user, there's a chat with my name on it saying we have to use this because so and so is poor. Like, the joke is that I'm poor, right?
Yeah.
And my phone
get an iPhone.
My phone is a foldable. I have a foldable Galaxy phone, more expensive than all of theirs, right? Yeah. And they're like, we've got the poor Android user. And I'm just like, oh. Yeah. Like, I just get trolled, and it's like, it's a brilliant marketing strategy by Apple.
But it was. So for the longest time, all of the cool apps were on iPhone first. Like Instagram was on iPhone first.
Yeah.
All the apps were iPhone first. So yeah. It's not so much. And again, there's a lot of really cool things that Samsung does with their phones or some of the other ones, but I'm just in the ecosystem now. I don't think I'd ever get out. But we have an iPhone story or Apple story at the end, so we'll talk about that. Now, do you guys, Ryan, do you remember the Force motherboards from Gigabyte?
I don't. I saw this on the agenda tonight. And I was like, I don't remember this.
All right. Well, I'm old. If you remember the Force motherboards, so
the only orange stuff I can think of is the ASRock board from.
They're bringing back their orange Force motherboards with a single board, at least to start. B850M Force AM5 motherboard. I just always like to look at the colorway. I like the orange. We used to have some orange boards back in the day, so maybe like. We're starting to see, we've seen this with like even like MSI and the Cyclone graphics cards are bringing back some of the old designs, some of the old colors. Yep. And this isn't like any crazy high performance board or anything like that. But when you talk about the top motherboard brands, like what boards there are, right? So it's good to see. Stack. Yeah, it's good to see something new.
Does anybody have the urge to grab a crossbar and beat some aliens too? Anybody getting that Black Mesa vibe?
Yeah, it kind of is like that. Yeah, you could do a Black Mesa build like this.
I'm just never a fan of boards with such a drastic color on it, because it as someone that enjoys the aesthetics of PCs, right? Like, I'm like, now I gotta get a board or a GPU that's got orange.
That's why I was so mad that like ASRock with their live mixer, they didn't keep that really cool design.
Right.
They went away from it with the new live mixers. But I like this board. I think it looks cool. We'll see if there's more Force boards that come out. Maybe this is just a test to kind of see how it does. Now, talking about something that's retro, I saw these and I was like, are we in like the 90s?
Yeah.
Like the Razer announces a Phantom collection of translucent PC peripherals. And Krootman, you're not that old, but like back in the 90s, like everything was translucent. Apple had their iMacs and everything. It was really cool to have. You had even I had a translucent Game Boy.
Yeah.
And all that. So
yeah.
So they're coming out with these green Matrix like inspired translucent versions of some of their most popular products. So you have their mouse, which is the Basilisk V3 Pro. You have the keyboard, which is the Black Widow V4 75%, the Razer Barracuda X Chroma, and then their Firefly V2, which is the mouse pad. I mean, I actually like these.
But hold on, go down real quick. Scroll down. Is it just me or does that picture right there, that one, make them look kind of cheap?
Oh, 100%.
But I think, but that's the thing is like any I guess, any kind of I think it's what they're going for.
Yeah, but remember, like, okay, so we're all probably in a similar age. Remember the translucent purple 64?
Yeah, it looks like that.
Cheap. Like, and I like Razer, but that picture, I don't know. Like you see it, right, Ryan? It just doesn't.
Yeah. Well, and what worries me about this, and only because I had a Logitech mouse. Like I used to be the biggest Logitech guy, but I would just game on a normal mouse, like non-gaming mouse, mostly because there weren't a lot of gaming mice at the time I had this mouse. But it had like a transparent bottom, and like my thumb just wore the plastic away, so it had this like shiny spot on it, right?
Yeah,
so that's what all I can think of with this is like you're gonna end up with
the
these
fingerprints are gonna be
that too. You're just gonna end up in that state there. Whereas if you have a solid color of plastic, even if it's worn, it's like still that same color. And so I'm not a fan of this.
I'm kind of with them. Like, think about how many peripherals we all review, right? And like your first look on a peripheral, if you're like in a Best Buy or in a store and you're looking for a peripheral, right? Is that really what's going to catch your eye and go, man, I'm going to spend $100, take that home with me?
Maybe if it was a smoked gray color instead of the green, I might like it. I think maybe that's part of it too.
Like I said, I don't. Maybe they're just trying stuff, just to be like, oh, retro's in, retro's in right now. We'll try to,
Look, I'm never one to criticize a brand for trying something new, right? But at the same point, like if I look at a product and I think my first reaction is like,
Well, the thing is too is like they're not making a new product, right? It's their same products, so
just a version.
All they're doing is put like they'll make however many and do that run and be like, did these sell well? Okay, if they do, we'll make more. If not, I think that's the thing. Now this next thing is kind of same thing with Razer. So Razer did the retro thing, and now they're making a bare bones keyboard, which I think I get it, but like, if you're building your own keyboard,
I'm not going to Razer.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. So this is their Black Widow V4 75%, but it's the bare bones version. So you'll be able to essentially buy it bare bones, and then you can pick the switches that you want and build it. I just think that if you're somebody who wants to build their own keyboard, like you can get a deck that's essentially built out, pick your switches and do it that way. I just don't know if you're going to a Razer for that.
I mean, are they gonna? So I guess it's like when you talk about Intel with GPUs, is Razer gonna make this cheap enough, or if you're like a keyboard enthusiast, this is what you're gonna go for?
Well, that's the thing. Is like, are you going to Razer for this?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe if it's like, so if Razer prices it at I'm not a keyboard enthusiast, but I know they cost a ton of money. But like, if I'm gonna build a keyboard, right, is it gonna be cheap enough where you can convince me to not go with Cherry or whatever the main builds are to try Razer out? Because if it costs the same, why would I go with them?
It's $139.99. I don't know if it comes with
any switches.
I mean, I'm not trying to pile on Razer here.
Yeah, it says
without
switches or keycaps. So you're paying $140 for the deck. I mean, I don't build keyboards either.
Neither do I.
It doesn't seem outrageous though.
Yeah, I just think that like a lot of like there's well-known DIY keyboard. I mean, they want to compete in that space, right? So maybe this is again just like the other ones. It's already based on a product. They have the decks already. You know,
can't they just buy the keyboard put together?
Well, like, but here's the thing, right? If you're
Exactly.
a keyboard enthusiast, right? Like if you're someone who's into building keyboards, then you know how to YouTube and you know where to find what you're looking for.
But maybe here's the thing. Maybe there's like a somebody who has a Razer product already and they're like, oh, I want to build my own keyboard, and they feel safe because like again, you go down that rabbit hole of the whole DIY and there's like brands you've never heard of, websites that you're not like, do I want to put my credit card in this website? Like, again, there's a lot of that. Not that any of that's bad or like you're going to get ripped off, but like to a normal consumer, they just may not want to do that. So they're like, oh, Razer. Like, I know Razer. Like, of course, I'll try this for my first one, and then maybe I'll go down the other route, but maybe that's it.
It's funny, right? Like, I would like to get, I would like someone who's like addicted to keyboards. Like, like, you probably do those setup reviews and you see the guy with like 20 keyboards mounted on his wall. I want that guy to tell me how he got into the keyboards as a hobby, right? Like, how you asked me how I got into this. I want to know how those guys get into keyboards as a hobby because it seems so foreign to me. Now, I'm not saying that it's dumb. I'm saying like, what pulled you into building?
My buddy was like that, and he has some really, really expensive keyboards. He just really likes it. And I have a ton of different keyboards too that I use. I don't build them, but like I have a bunch. Then I swap them all the time. I have like different feels, and you want to change it up every once in a while. So yeah, pretty interesting. We'll see if Razer, if that's the thing, they get more into that. Now moving on to monitors, I saw the 610 hertz monitor at Computex. Now there's a 720 hertz OLED. That's 1440p, so you need a 5090 at least to run it. And this is from SDC. I mean,
but
what are you gonna do with this thing? Like,
we've seen that it works though. Like we've shown that high refresh rate works.
But like, how high are we gonna go?
Who knows?
Yeah, but okay. So that's like me giving you. A car with 500 horsepower, and you guys live in Southern Cal, right?
I do, yeah.
And telling you to drive it down LA's busiest highway as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Which is like 50 miles an hour.
I think, like I said, we kind of stick to like 240 hertz. I think even most like pro CS players are probably playing 240 hertz on a 24-inch monitor at 1080p.
No, they're at like 7. Aren't they at like lower resolutions than that? Like 710 or...
I don't know what they play at, but in any case, I just think this is wild. I don't know if there's a price.
Is it 720 though? Is 720 only in 1080p because it said special mode on it?
Maybe, I don't know.
Old man was saying 720p, 720 hertz. Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's like for the Counter-Strike players, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
yeah, interesting. But yeah, well, like I said, I think we'll just keep on seeing this number go up. And I think, cool. Like we talk about, like Ryan and I noticed a big difference between 60, 144 and 240. Like there is a difference, and you can test it in games. But like as you get higher,
there's got to be a limit.
There, like, because your eye, like they always say, your eye can only see 60 FPS or whatever it is.
Well, why buy it when games can't even go that high? Like, unless you're playing Rainbow Six Siege, you're not hitting that FPS.
Yeah, but like what I'm saying is like, how high can we go before it like just doesn't make any difference? You know what I mean?
So go talk to a competitive CS player. They will have the answer for you.
Yeah.
Whenever I talk about that, I've been like at CES, a competitive CES player put me in my place and explained to me like you ever test a GPU and then you get a player that plays Tarkov. He's like, well, the GPU doesn't behave that way because of this one game.
Well, that's the thing. Is like NVIDIA had a test between like 60, 144 and 240. And like Ryan and I both, we you could tell the
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
And like in-game shooting somebody, you could tell that we hit more shots at 240 hertz than we did at 60. I mean, it's, but talking about gaming, Xbox, we saw the leak or the teaser.
Yeah, we finally got our answer.
Yeah. So Xbox and Asus unveiled the ROG Xbox Ally, which looks like an ROG Ally morphed with an Xbox controller.
Yep.
And honestly, for me, I think this is a total just Microsoft just dropped the ball on this one completely.
Do you think so? Why?
Yeah, because they should have their own console.
Sure.
This is an ROG Ally.
Just there should be no Asus involved.
And it's not even an Xbox. It's going to play PC games. It's just going to have an Xbox UI on it.
Yeah.
It's just like any other mobile console, and that Xbox UI is going to get hacked onto another one.
Handheld. Yeah.
I mean, if it's priced well, right? If it's priced well and it does what you want it to do, and it's a legitimate upgrade from the Steam Deck, does it matter?
That's true. So we always talk about like consoles and how they were like, yeah, like this is the most affordable one. Maybe with Asus is making this, but this is a big purchase order, I guess, from Microsoft. They could price it really well where you're like, okay, I'm looking at a mobile gaming console. Well, the Xbox one's actually cheaper than everything else, and it's really powerful.
Yeah, this one, depending on price, when I saw this news of like what we were actually getting with this, because we were kind of speculating, until we saw this, is like, okay, my son has outgrown the Switch, right? We're not going to the Switch 2. Our Xbox, we have an Xbox One, right? We don't have a current gen Xbox, but he's like getting to that point. And then I haven't fully built him a PC yet. So I'm like, maybe this is that sweet spot of dock this thing, or whatever, hook it up to a monitor, and then you can take it with him as well. Like maybe this is Christmas this year. I don't know. We'll see.
And it gets you into that Game Pass ecosystem, which is where they make their money.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the thing is, it's like, so it comes out this holiday.
Mm-hmm.
They had an event, or they were showing it off. I didn't really look at much beyond.
I saw Linus had a video. I haven't watched it yet.
But like, I don't know if they had it playing. I don't think they showed it playing games. I could be wrong,
odd.
But so there's two different versions. There's a ROG Xbox Ally and the ROG Xbox Ally X. Big difference is processor and RAM size and storage too. So the normal ROG Xbox Ally will have the AMD Ryzen Z2A, whereas the Ally X will have the AMD Ryzen AI Z2 Extreme. Difference in memory, you're going to get 16 gigs on the normal one, 24 on the other one. Storage, 512 on the normal one. On the X, you're going to get 1 terabyte. The Ally X will also have better battery performance as well, but you
also have different speeds of memory too between.
Different speeds of memory too.
So isn't the Allied X technically the most powerful handheld you can buy right now based on the chip it's using too? The Extreme?
Probably. I haven't really looked in what else is out there that you can buy currently, as far as pricing. I know the Legion Go 2 is coming out. I don't know. But I think for a lot of people, also having like the Xbox name, maybe some of like the console people are like kind of scared to buy a PC based mobile console. So having the Xbox name on there would, give them a little bit more reason to buy it. Maybe. I don't know. But I honestly, like I said, I feel like Microsoft dropped the ball. They should have their own hardware, their own console, The
Xbox does use an AMD. I was just looking up the Xbox specs just to kind of like, because what you're saying, it's all AMD hardware.
Yeah, but like, I mean, even if they were, they should have worked in like, I really don't think they worked in tandem on the hardware. They worked in tandem on the design with Asus, but like they should have worked in tandem with AMD on hardware, and they should have designed the whole thing themselves. It's
like the way Sony and Valve did, is what you're saying? Kind of like that,
or like just like the Switch 2.
Yeah,
that's NVIDIA parts. but it's a Nintendo product, right? This should be, in my opinion, I just think that maybe Microsoft never thought about putting out a mobile console that wasn't in their wheelhouse, but they're like, these things are really popular. Like you see, everybody has one. These things are so popular. We need to come out with one. So maybe they went into R&D, and the R&D is like, yeah, it's going to be like 2.5 years till we have something. And they're like, no, we need to do it faster. Let's work with Asus then.
Maybe this ushers in the era of Microsoft doesn't make any hardware anymore. And we've already seen the last Xbox, and it's all streaming to whatever device you want now.
Well, don't you think the console wars are dead at this point? I mean, like, if you look, right, Xbox, like, what is the difference between an Xbox and a PlayStation anymore? Exclusives that all end up on a PC within a year?
Yeah.
And
yeah, there's not that excitement anymore, which is kind of sad. That's why, like, I wanted it to be like an Xbox exclusive mobile console thing, right? Or something that came out with like a crazy cool version of Halo at launch that you couldn't get on anything else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That for me, that's what I would want. And again, I think if anybody could do it, it would be a Microsoft, you know, putting out a real Xbox product. This is an Asus product with the Xbox name on it. It's not an Xbox product.
What would
and for years, Xbox, you know, when I was, again, I'm old, but like, you know, Xbox was an innovator in the console space. So when you started hearing rumors, I was like, oh, this is going to be a really cool device, but it's just an ROG Ally, which again is a really great device. I just would have liked to see an actual Xbox Microsoft design product that is exclusive Xbox. This is not. This is a ROG Ally that just has a bigger side, like a controller's sides, and it just says Xbox on. It's going to have an Xbox UI. It's going to run on Windows 11 like everything else.
What would you pay for this thing, you guys? Like, what would each of you spend on this?
I would pay $599 for the Ally, and then $699 for the Ally X. Maybe
I was gonna say 800 on the Ally X.
Yeah.
Well, at least I'm not the only one that's, because I thought 800 would have been somewhat reasonable on the Ally X personally.
Yeah, we'll see. And again,
I've always been surprised with how affordable the others have been.
Maybe
that's what's always gotten me.
I said, maybe because it's Microsoft and Xbox, they put in a massive purchase order. They got a discount from Asus on the amount that are being made. They got a good deal, so then they can offer it at a lower price point.
I mean, hopefully. I honestly, I'm bored of the Steam Deck. Like, the Steam Deck is such a good value for what you get that, like, the Valve doesn't need to make a Steam Deck too, because, like, if you want to get into PCs, I tell everyone to go buy a Steam Deck. They're like, what's the best way to get into PC gaming? I'm like, buy a Steam Deck.
Yeah, I mean, for certain things, yeah. So this is interesting. But moving on to a sort of retro mobile gaming device, Aya Neo has their new Flip 1S DS, which is very much Nintendo DS style with 2 screens. Are you into any of these, like, sort of like emulate? Basically, you're going to run emulators on this thing, but it's a little mobile device that you can kind of play some games, maybe up to like PlayStation games on here.
Being careful what I say, because I don't want any copyright strikes. I have every handheld from the Game Boy up to what came out now, as far as like Nintendo, right? Nice. Or like PlayStation. So I prefer playing all of them on their original hardware, because
actually, this one's actually quite powerful, because now that I'm looking at the specs, it has a Ryzen AI9 HX370.
That seems overkill for what is most likely going to be used on this.
And it's a 144 hertz OLED. The main screen, 7-inch, 144 hertz, 1080p OLED with 800 nits of brightness too.
That's what. Yeah.
Is it a Linux or an Android? It's Windows 11.
Yeah, this thing's gonna be like a legit mobile console.
Yeah,
this is gonna. And they said it's like pricing is looking to be around $1,000.
Holy!
Could you play League on this?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about I'm not a controller person, so.
Like if you just think about like a League of Legends style game, if you could play League on this, because you can't play League on the Steam Deck because it's Linux and this is Windows. So like, I don't know.
Yeah, you could.
It's
An interesting. I really like Abernick and Ionia. They're putting out these really cool, interesting products, and I like it. So we'll see what this one. We'll see what this one comes out. I mean, it's going to be and there's and again, we talk about like a couple brands that we kind of get news of, but there's like a ton of like Chinese brands and other brands that are like making products like these that are like really, really interesting. So
you just have to be careful to not get yourself copyright striked and cover the wrong thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, the next thing we talked about the Switch 2. Switch 2 sold 3.5 million in 4 days, which is crazy. Yeah, that's
mine.
Did you got a Switch 2?
I got I
feel like you're an impulse buyer. You're just
no. So actually, it's funny. I'm not. I mean, the good thing is because it's for the channel, I can write it off, which is cool. But like, no, I got the Switch 2 because I haven't been able to play the last round of AAA Nintendo titles because they can't run on the Switch 1.
Okay.
And like, you know,
did you go out at midnight and get it?
No. So there's there's in my town I live in, there's a mom and pop shop who has a distributor with Nintendo. And I texted the owner like the day it was announced. I'm like, put me on the list. So I was able to buy locally.
That's cool.
Nice.
Great. So I just stopped over at midnight. He's like, are you here? Yeah. Opened the door, grabbed it, and walked out. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Do you like it? You like it so far?
I really do. Look, okay, it's Nintendo, right? So you have to be okay. It's like gaming on an Apple product. You know what you're getting, right? You want to do it. You're not doing it because you have to. You're doing it because you choose to, right? Yeah. So like the Switch is pretty cool. It's run flawlessly compared to the old Switch. It's a really good upgrade. And like Cyberpunk, I'm gonna try it on it. I'm excited for it. But like this is all in the lens of Nintendo, right? Like this isn't a PC gamer because like it's not a 5090. It's what is this thing? It's like a PS 3.5 in terms of power, right?
Yeah.
So like, but I like Nintendo, you know.
But the thing is like I think all of these mobile consoles are really cool products. It's just having a mobile device that you can take with you that you can play your games. And they're like, again, it's not like an older, even at the time, like Game Boys and DS came out, it was super cool to have that in your pocket, in your hand, where you could take it with you. So all of these, I think, are really, really cool. So shout out to Nintendo, 3.5 million in 4 days.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's also way less difficult to operate than a Steam Deck. Like think about all the things you have to do to your Steam Deck. Yeah. Switch, like for me to get it set up and to like get it ready to go, it took me 30 minutes. And like my father, who's not tech savvy, could do it. But like, how hard is it to set up a Steam Deck?
Yeah. That, like I said, that's why a lot of people buy it too, because it's just easy. They don't have to worry about it. There's no learning curve. You kind of just turn it on and go. So yeah. Last bit of news, we were talking about Apple and iPhone. I didn't watch WWDC, but they announced kind of a unifying of their operating system as far as design goes. You can see how everything kind of matches now. I like that, but like this was like very Apple-esque. They made it like it's the biggest thing, and I saw the best tweet or whatever you want to call it online, and somebody was like, Steve Jobs would have fired everybody. If this was like their thing that they came out with. We don't even have to talk about it, honestly, because I don't think it's anything.
I mean, it's like going back in the day when you would buy or like run the software to change your icon pack on Windows so that they all had a cool look to them, or you know what I mean? Like that's what this feels like, but them just catching up. I mean, I think it does look good, but yeah,
I like it that it's unified across all platforms, right?
Yeah.
But it's just
Android already has this. That's all.
Well, that's of course. I mean, exactly. That's why I said like Steve Jobs would have fired everybody. So that is it for the news for the week. We talked about a lot, which is awesome. There will be no podcast next week because I am going on a trip, so I will not be here. But Ryan will have a review for you next week. He's taking a look at the HyperX Pulsefire X Saga Pro. That's a long name.
Well, you said it wrong, but yeah.
Wait, HyperX Pulsefire Saga Pro. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, he'll be taking a look at that mouse, and I might have some other stuff for you next week as well. So definitely stay tuned for that. We always do a question of the week. So Krootman, we'll go to you first. So this week the question is, what is your current travel piece of tech? Like, is it a laptop? Do you bring a laptop on the plane? Do you bring a tablet? Are you just on your phone? Like, what's your travel tech thing?
So are we talking, all right, are we talking travel for like a quick trip for like a weekend?
Like, what are you bringing on the plane? Like, if you're getting on a plane,
okay,
what is like your main piece of tech that you're going to use on the plane?
It's either the Steam Deck, the Switch 2, or whatever system I'm trying to beat a game on. Like right now, I'm on a Final Fantasy X kick, so currently the PS Vita is what's going with me.
Dang, dude.
On planes.
Yeah.
But it's one of those two. They just get the spread of games you want to play, and hotel Wi-Fi isn't the worst thing when you're on a trip and you got time to kill.
Gotcha.
How about you?
Ryan, you want to?
I don't bring any. I like my phone is going to be it.
Okay.
Right? I don't have a modern laptop. I was looking at like the Razer Blades recently.
They're nice.
But I kind of stepped back from that. So I don't know. Yeah, my phone. Like I will just be happy with phone and a good pair of like a nice wireless noise canceling headset. That's what I'm going to.
Yeah, I mean, I got that new iPad. We talked about it when I bought it. Was it the iPad Air M3? I think it was. Whatever the newest iPad Air, 11-inch that I have. It's a perfect size. It's not as big as a laptop, and I just really, really like it. And it's like I can be productive. I got the keyboard and I have everything. So if I need to like work, I can work. But then if I just want to watch media, it's bigger than the screen that's in this. If you're on a plane that has the screens in the seat, it's bigger than that. But it's not too big where you can't like, when they bring you food or whatever, it's not too big. Because a laptop takes up too much space. It basically takes up the entire tray table, whereas this is just small enough. That's kind of what I use. That's what I used when I went to Taiwan, for the most part on the plane too. So.
Did you see what Bitwit did when he went to
Taiwan? That's crazy.
What did he do? I didn't see this.
He brought a mini PC.
Like he built like a mini PC.
Like a
for the trip.
Mini ITX PC on the plane. And like
was able to power it.
Yeah, and like a portable monitor.
Wow.
Yeah, it was interesting. So, but yeah, that is it for the podcast this week, guys. We do have all Krootman stuff. It is in our show notes. It's in the description of this video as well. All of his links. We thank you for coming on. It's always good to have people on the podcast. Yeah. So
thank you.
So yeah, any projects or anything you have coming up on your channel?
I'll be doing I have my gaming PC, like the final build of it, like my ultimate dream gaming PC. So that'll be coming out soon. And I'll be doing some more price analysis, and a video that's coming up is AMD price point of NVIDIA minus 50. I actually think it's a winning formula on the low end.
Okay. Yeah, there's some interest. You do some really interesting content. So we'll definitely I'll keep my eyes peeled for all of that. Of course, it is Wednesday, so that does mean that it is gaming night as well. So we're going to be over on Twitch. Ryan runs that, twitch.tv/ThinkComputers. And remember, guys, no podcasts next week, so we will not be here. So take a week off, and we will see you guys the following week.